I think that is a extraordinarily powerful idea. That as you imagine yourself getting older, you do not have to imagine yourself becoming breakable and frail. That there is this, what you call the medicine of mobility, that you're going to talk about today, that is important for all of us to understand and embrace. I don't care how old or young you are. And that there is a different way to age that creates a completely different life, and that you do have control here.
Well, when I say things like mobility is medicine, movement is medicine, it's because there is this phenomenon, and I wish I had made this up, called sedentary death syndrome. It is the 33 chronic diseases that kill us in this country. It's everything you've thought of: heart disease, brain disease, stroke. It is diabetes. All of those 33 chronic diseases that people die of are directly treated by moving. Because if you have high blood pressure, you'll take a pill for that. If you have cardiac disease, you'll take a pill for that. If you have dementia, you could take a pill for that. One pill, moving your body, is the medicine that positively affects them all. So if we want to cure sedentary death syndrome, it involves the medicine of mobility. Now, let's just take 2 steps back so that we acknowledge that we don't control everything in the future. There are legitimately these time bombs of aging that just happen at a cellular level. But the thing is, our lifestyle can control our mitochondria, the energy of our cells. They can control how many bad cells circulate around. They're called senescent cells or zombie cells. We can control that by the lifestyle we live. We can control inflammation in our body to a certain extent with the lifestyle we live. And so all these time bombs that age us faster, we are not the victims of the passage of time. If you want to feel better now, then that is an action step. It is not reading more about what could happen to you and putting the book back on the shelf. It is learning how to take action to change the trajectory of the future, or else you are a victim of the passage of time.
Well, one thing that I will say is that if you are somebody that listens to this podcast and you normally listen to it while you're sitting at work or you're sitting in your car, like one change you could make is listen to this while you're walking.
Absolutely.
And that way you're combining the advice with your interest in listening to something that's helping you improve your life. You've said that our understanding of aging is completely skewed because all of the studies that have been done on folks that are older are studies done on people who don't move much. Can you unpack this for us?
Absolutely. So when we look at aging studies, you will often find things like, oh, we slow down when we age, we lose our muscle. And some of that is true, right? It is true. I'll concede that. But in big population studies, like there's a study that was going on when I was at the University of Pittsburgh called the Health ABC. They took a cohort, a group of 70-year-olds and just followed them and to see what happens. They all slowed down. They developed a lot of body fat. All the things you think about of an aging. Well, when you look at the US population, and it's not that different around the world, 70% of us don't do any form of mobility or exercise a day. It's like this thing I described to you, 20 hours sitting down, right? So what do we know from those population studies? We know how we age if we don't move. So my group and I formed this group early in my career called PRIMA, the Performance and Research Initiative for Masters Athletes. Masters just means people over 35 or 40.
Gotcha. That doesn't sound that old. But
it's a category, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a category. So all of my academic research has been investigating what happens if we take sedentary living out of the equation in terms of our aging. And so I was the principal investigator on a number of studies that looked at bone health, muscle health, brain health, our stem cells with aging, all looking at when do we slow down if we continue to be active our entire lives. And we started studying people, active people, they were not professional athletes, asking the question, what are we capable of if we take the variable of sedentary living out of the equation? Can we maintain our muscle mass? Can we maintain our bone density? Can we maintain our brain function? When do we really slow down? And we found that in our active people, 35, 40 and up, all the way, I think my oldest in these studies were 103, that yes, indeed, you can maintain your bone density. Yes, indeed, you can maintain your muscle mass. Yes, indeed, you can retain the cognitive function in the front of your brain. Yes, indeed, we can stimulate the production of longevity proteins, all with something as simple as moving our legs, walking around, competing in a little sports, because remember, we are designed to move.
You have with you these MRI results.
Yeah.
And we're going to put them up on the screen for those, for you if you're watching on YouTube. But I would love to have you walk us through what we're looking at here. And if you could just keep in mind that there's a person listening so we describe it for them.
Yeah. So, the study that you're describing has been published since 2011, and it was one of the first to really answer the question, can we maintain our lean muscle mass with simple daily activity? So this series of 3 pictures has become iconic on the internet. I should have named it because it is everywhere. Gym people put it up in their gyms. But what it shows is this. The study was looking at master's age recreational athletes. Nobody was a pro athlete in this. They were mere mortals like you and me.
So we're basically saying if you do a 5K and you're over 40, you're considered a master athlete.
Yeah, masters just means that you're out of the Olympic pipeline. You're just
you're a normal human being.
You're a normal human being. So my patients were all normal human beings. So in the study that we're looking at, there are 3 pictures. I did this study using an MRI, which if you've ever had an MRI, you just lay really still, you go into a tube, and it's really loud in there. And all that clanging and banging is we're taking pictures of your body with a magnet.
Okay.
It's such cool technology. So in the first picture, we have slices as if you were slicing up a ham. If you see this picture, or if you're imagining it, think of the Christmas ham. There's a bone in the middle.
Yep.
There's a layer of muscle on top. There's a layer of muscle on bottom, and there's a very, very thin rind of fat around the outside.
Yeah, it looks like almost like a fillet. Like if
It
you
does.
order a fillet, and I'm looking at this beautiful, almost like a solid piece of meat on a
Yes.
40-year-old athlete.
Yeah.
It looks exactly the same on the 70-year-old
Well-
who's active. But talk to me about the one in the middle, which is the 74-year-old who does nothing and sits around, because that looks like a bowl of cottage cheese. Like that does not look healthy.
So if you look at the 40-year-old slice,
Yep.
I call that exactly what you said, the flank steak.
Yep.
Very lean, no marbling, very thin fat that you don't have to do anything with. And when we tested the strength of these athletes, they were strong.
Okay.
Then if you sit around for 35 or 40 years, this is what happens. The cottage cheese picture I call Kobe beef.
Kobe beef. I don't even know what that is.
That is that Japanese cow that they massage, and all the meat has all this fat in it.
Oof.
So if we sit around for 30 years, we lose all of our muscle architecture. We become very weak. And you're right. It looks very disorganized. And so this person in the middle picture can't get up from a chair.
And what you are saying to us today is that you're going to teach us that aging is inevitable, but how you age is within your control. And so, for somebody that's listening in their 20s to 40s, this message about, look, you have got to incorporate movement because it creates a roadmap for a long, amazing life. Yeah. And I think the message to anybody that's listening that's 40, 50, 60, 70 is it's not too late.
Exactly. So what are we doing in those last 20 years if we don't pre-plan that? If we don't get in front of this, I call 35 to 45 the critical decade.
Why is 35 to 45 the critical decade?
Because if I say, 25 was easy, by 35, most of us have figured out a little bit to what to do in our careers, unless you're a surgeon like me and you're still training, but figured out some things about life. Sometimes by that point, people have made relationship commitments. Sometimes they've made raising other little people commitments. But you are still young enough with youthful vigor, with youngish stem cells to course correct. So if 35 to 45 is the time to develop the habits of mobility, to develop the habits of lifting weights, to look at what you're eating. Your body is not a garbage can that we just shove whatever in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can burn anything for fuel, but should you be burning the noxious, right? Because what happens at 45 for women, and even to some extent for men, is we start going through perimenopause and different game. It's not a continuation of the game for women. It is a different game. So if we can, in the critical decade, get these habits established, it will not be such a shock as those people who come to my office at 65 and say, oh my God, what do I do now?